Welcome to Your Inspired Journey. I'm Carla Andrews, and I have the pleasure of being here with Shiraz Baboo. He is a well known author, speaker, international speaker, who's able to help you transform your life while you rewrite your reality. Welcome, Shiraz. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here. I can't wait to just, share with the world all the different things that you've worked on, not only on yourself, but with other people. But you have to share with us, of course, who is Shiraz? Like we want to know a little bit about your journey, a little bit about your message, and how did you get to choosing this path in life?
Yeah, it's interesting because oftentimes the path just chooses you and you don't
Mm,
realize till you're there. But I started off, I guess the main catalyst of my journey was I had rheumatoid arthritis when I was 22 years old and
22?
22.
22.
And, not just, oh, my back hurts, every joint in my body, days, sometimes weeks in bed, in pain, and just
Wow.
sometimes just sheer agony. And it would go into remission for a while and then come back. And I put up with that for almost 20 years, still trying to have a career, have a life. And my body just kept getting more and more deformed. And eventually it just got to this point where I was having a conversation with my dad and I said, is there anything that you know of out
Mhm.
there that can work for this? And, Western medicine is just tries to slow things down, but doesn't actually do anything to cure.
Mm.
And there's all these side effects. And my mom had rheumatoid arthritis, and she went legally blind from the side effects of the drugs. So
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have those same side effects. That was just one of the side effects, but so there was that. And so he said, well, I've heard of this program called combined therapy over in India, and they've had success with multiple chronic illnesses. And I've found that interesting because it's usually like a cancer center or an arthritis center or a diabetes center. And he's like, no, they do everything. I'm like, how can they do everything? Right. So it seemed weird, but he said, no, they've gotten great results. So I hopped on a plane and went over to India, and I got into this program, and it was really weird because I hear India, and I think they're going to be some sort of Swami guy with his hands going, oh, heal, and I get there, and this guy just talks to me for 2 weeks about my life and in my entire life history. And as we're talking, like I've got to be completely honest with this guy so that we can figure out what's going on. But I still don't know what this conversation has to do with my arthritis. At first, I thought it was just my history of having arthritis, but he's talking about my childhood, what's going on there. And at the end of the 2 weeks, he says, so here's what happened. When you were a little kid, your mom got sick. And when you were 8 years old, you made this decision that you needed to be responsible and take care of your mom. And there's only so much an 8-year old kid can do to take care of them. But in your mind, you're being responsible and you're taking care of your mom. And then you realize, well, your mom's sick, so she can't take care of your brother and sister. So you have to be responsible for them too. And then you added your dad, and then you added your cousins, and then you added your friends. And then you created this belief that anyone that comes into your life, you have to be responsible for them.
Wow.
Right. And I looked at him and I said, well, okay, I know I'm a responsible guy, but I don't think I'm responsible for everyone. That's crazy. He goes, you don't have that at a conscious level, but at a subconscious level,
Subconscious.
you believe you need to be responsible for everyone in your life. Excuse me. And I said,
Are you
okay.
okay? So let me ask you this. So you're saying that it almost as if it came across, and I don't want to marginalize it, but like they were like asking coaching questions,
Yeah, it basically
the
like,
clarifying questions.
yeah.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so then he said this, and I said, okay, let's say I'm responsible and I have that belief. What does that have to do with arthritis? Like, and he says, well, you don't want to be responsible. And I said, yeah. And if you're lying in bed in pain, you have the perfect excuse not to be responsible for anyone. It's the solution to the problem you don't even know you have. No one can argue with you about being responsible if you're lying there in pain and your body is deforming. And I went, that's crazy. He goes, that's how
Yes.
chronic illness works. That's what all chronic illness is. And I said, And I thought about it. I said, well, wait a sec. If that's how it works, then all I have to do is say I'm not going to be responsible for anyone except for me. And I shouldn't have arthritis. He goes, if you say it and you mean it, a lot of people say, okay, I'm
and you
going to do it, but
believe
deep
it.
down, they can't make that shift. You have to
Yeah.
mean it. And I said, fine, I am not going to be responsible for anyone except for me. And I woke up the next morning, no pain, no inflammation. I had more mobility. There was still a lot of damage done because it was physical damage being done by this illness. That's all being caused by a belief. But I was just like, I don't have arthritis. Oh my God. Right. So it was just crazy.
So, so to clarify this, when you're saying that you had
Yeah.
arthritis, you actually went to a medical doctor
Mhm.
and state where you live, where you were
I'm
living,
in Toronto,
or
Canada.
awesome. So you went to a doctor and they clinically stated that you had this
No,
disease.
it's funny. I haven't actually gone to a doctor since about my arthritis. Like, and I have, and I probably, I think I test positive for arthritis, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine. Like before, there was just everything was scrunched up, and I couldn't move, and every movement was pain. But it's good, and and what's interesting is, and I know I still have arthritis because every now and then I get arthritis. But what
Mm-hmm.
happens is when it happens, I say, oh, what belief have I created now that's causing me to feel the pain? And I figure out what it is, and it goes away almost immediately. So now it's just this early warning system that you're going into these negative beliefs that's causing you to limit your life. And my body warns me saying, don't do this. I'm going to punish you every time you do something stupid, basically. And I'm like, okay,
Mm.
I can live with this.
So it's a connection, mind, body, spirit connection that's happening
Yes.
when it comes to how what you think, what you believe,
Yes.
or what you don't want to believe, and then your body is manifesting in different ways.
Yeah.
The pain, literally.
Yeah. And
So it's
everyone
like you're
does this
paralyzed.
in different
Mhm.
ways. And some people use their body to do it, and some people use the circumstances of their lives to do it. But everyone is doing this.
And in some fashion, I mean, and I can see what you're saying because ulcers. A lot of ulcers come from someone worrying. So
Yes.
what is worry? Worry is a thought. It's a
Yep.
belief. It's a story that we have in our head, and then it manifests itself into the right to the ulcer.
Yes.
So it's just your body is choosing different ways to manifest that. I don't want to say that thought or that pain, or is it the same? The
It's
thought being
basically the
painful,
thought. The thought turns into that pain.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where it gets interesting: is that, as I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be pain. You can create restrictions in your life in different ways. So
Mm-hmm.
when I figured this out, it was just a game changer for everything because it's not just about illness, it's about relationships, it's about success, it's about everything that's going on in your life. So when I began to apply these principles to other areas and work with other people, the results just started to become insane. Like it basically like magic showing up in your life, which is why I named my company Energetic Magic. And for an
Mm.
example, I had this client that she built up her business and then it just plateaued, couldn't get it any higher. And she came to me, she goes, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm trying different ways to advertise and promote. And I've got the best people. I'm getting 5-star reviews on Google, but it's just not
Mm-hmm.
going any higher. And
Mm-hmm.
so we did a session and I found out that when she has family reunions, her family trash talks rich people. And she was making so much money that if she made any more money, she'd consider herself rich. So she was sabotaging her business without realizing it. And, she was looking for the solution in her business, but it wasn't there. It was with her family. So once she became aware that belief was there and we shifted that belief, within the next year, she almost doubled her business.
Mm.
So this is what we do.
So you are a belief shifter,
I am a belief shifter.
and from how a person believes can propel them into action
Yes.
or lack of action,
Yeah.
even worse. to paralysis and to
Yep.
whatever goal that they're trying to achieve, whatever
Yes.
that desired goal is.
Yeah. And this is the thing, if you are stuck, if you are trying to build your business or create your career and you keep hitting roadblocks or things aren't moving fast and you just can't get to that next level, and you've been getting coached and you've been doing things that you think are the right things and you're still not getting the results, it's got nothing to do with what you're doing. It's something going on inside you that you have no clue is there.
Hmm. And a lot of it, I'm sure you're finding out, is coming from childhood time frame when when we're so absorbable, right? We absorb what people believe of us.
Yes.
So especially, I mean, the statements that you're making right now is, if anything, if anyone gets anything out of it, especially parents who are listening, is to guard the innocence and the belief faculties, right, of your child.
Yes. And
Like
it's very important to
who's speaking to your child?
and it's very important to share positive thoughts with your child. What's possibilities, expansiveness, so that your child looks at all these things and doesn't feel restricted. But it's
Mm,
there's a little more to it than that, because there's a second layer in that we have stories. Everyone has stories about their lives, and stories are actually contagious, and
mm,
you don't realize that. But the way you think stories are transmitted from one person to another person is you say something and then they buy it and they go, oh, I see, I get your story, and you educate your kids and they get your story. But stories can also be transmitted energetically, and this is something that when you realize what's going on, it will cause you to make bigger changes in your life. So, for instance, talking about educating your kids, let's say a mother is telling her son, I want you to do great things. I believe in you. You have so much potential. Go out there and conquer the world. So she's feeding him the correct story. But her story about herself is, I've wasted my life. I've missed opportunities. I can never succeed. It's too late for me now. He can pick up on that story that she has for herself and make it about him without any conversation going on. Right.
so
And
based on her behavior, how she made that statement,
how she
just
made a
her vibe.
statement,
Yeah.
there's like just some of her own actions that's going on. And but even just the thoughts, this is where it gets a little crazy. We can pick up on other people's thoughts. It's just like, how many times have you said, oh, I was just thinking about you, and then you called? Like, you can pick up on these things, and when you're exposed to your parents all the time growing up, you're going to pick up on their insecurities, you're going to pick up on their fears, and they may be all about your parents, but you're going to be in that growing up, and then you suddenly have it, and you don't know you have it, because that's
Mm,
not what your parents told you, that's not what they were teaching you, but it's still in there, and you
yeah.
wonder, well, why am I not getting the success I want? So,
Mm,
but you can step out of that once you realize it's there. It's actually quite simple to step out of it, and the hardest part is finding out what the stories are, because if you don't know what they are, it's really hard to get out of them.